Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record live at 2 p.m. Eastern Time every Monday. If you enjoy this video, hit that like button, and if you want to submit to be on the show, take a look at the information in the description.
So, got an etiquette question that I had emailed in.
Yep.
I was getting ready to take a shot at a little bit higher game than what I'm used to, and I was going with a couple of buddies. And it was suggested that we should chop profit. So if you finished over your amount, over your buy-in, you'd take your 500 or your buy-in out, and then you would chop up the profit.
Right.
My question is should I be disclosing that to people at the table? Do they need to know that a player at the table has equity in my game? Or is that just like a need-to-know information? Because obviously we're not trying to collude or cheat the game.
Sure. No,
but mitigate risk.
This is a very, very good question. Really ripe for a YouTube video because it hits a lot of different things. So what I'm assuming what you're saying is that you and a couple of buddies are driving to this game. So you're playing at the same table, right? Basically, you're playing at the same table. Okay. And maybe you're not versed in PLO all that much. So you've decided to So you've decided to basically swap. You've decided to swap some of your equity share with each other, or just basically chop it. Swap. Yeah, basically swap, right? And
chopping 33%.
Right, chopping 33%. It's a really, really complex question, man. Because I'll say that to start, my former friend, who I actually haven't talked to in 5 or 6 years. And he's been banished from social media every time he gets back on Twitter. Somebody kicks him off. I think it's because he complained. I think it's the Zionists. And the Zionist is somebody that's the pro-Israel state. That's what he says are the people that throw him off of Twitter each time. But he's still humorous. But he had very strong feelings about this where he would say that even if he would call people cheaters, people that wouldn't disclose their stake in each other, or if they were swapping. I thought that was a little bit harsh. I think what he's saying is that you're colluding without even knowing it because of the fact that you will play hands differently, even sometimes subconsciously, because you have pieces of each other, and that will affect the way that the game is played, and it will affect the other players that don't have this equity swap. You can actually best hand them. And what I mean by best hand them is that they miss out sometimes on the situations where your buddy I'm going to give you this example and hold them. Your buddy opens on the button and you're in the small blind with, like, let's say some sort of marginal hand that you definitely would 3-bet a random. Like you've got Jack 10 suited, Queen 10 suited. You would definitely 3-bet that in the small blind. And then the regular but you didn't, you just folded because it was your buddy on the button. And now the guy in the big blind wakes up with aces and he didn't get that action because you don't really have the incentive to go after your buddy's hand and knock him out of the hand because with something in the middle, because you guys are just going to chop it up anyways. Or you have some sort of, equity swap. So that's really what the argument is that it's unfair to other players because you can best hand them. There is no incentive for you're basically playing two hands against one, even if you're not doing it intentionally. It comes to your question, though. Is it your duty, is it your ethics to tell everybody in the game that you guys have a piece of each other? If I didn't know anything about the way that gambling works, I would definitely say yes, it probably is because of what I just stated. The only thing that I'll say, and I don't know how to rectify this, is that this goes on all the time, especially in public casinos, where it's not disclosed. And it's not, I don't know if people haven't put the rule, they haven't, like card room managers haven't explicitly stated this as a rule that you must declare if you have a piece of somebody else at the table. They might not have that rule because there's no way that they can enforce it. Going down the line, though, where they're actually, and this is of course all in cash games, going down the line where there's actually been a great cry and a great sort of cry out from the poker community is that this should be disclosed in tournaments, because cash game, when someone has a piece of you in a cash game or they're backing you in a cash game, that is nowhere near as common as it is in tournaments. It's probably 10 times more common in tournaments, if not more, that you have backing in a tournament, right? Or somebody has pieces of you. I mean, I always played with someone had pieces of me at the World Series, and except last year when I got fourth in the Monster, which was fortunate. But almost everybody who's playing multiple events has sold pieces, right, in a tournament. So when you get into these staking stables where guys have pieces of like a lot of people, and the staker himself, the owner of the stable, he's a good player too. And then they get to the end and, of a huge tournament, right? And this guy has a piece of this other guy and they're at the final table and they're playing for millions of dollars. Well, should that be disclosed? The cry out is yes, of course it should be disclosed, but they have never made a rule about it because I don't know if they don't think that it can be enforced. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's kind of a touchy, it's really a touchy situation. I would say, yes, you probably should. However, if you do, I don't know if you're going to be able to play in the game. Do you follow? Like, what if you tell, like, do you think that they would be? The only thing that I would think about here, and the issue is that you're actually trying to do the right thing, but it might make you guys look like assholes, and you might not be able to play in the game if people don't understand what you guys are saying. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That was my biggest concern is like, and because I wanted to disclose, and my buddy was like, absolutely not. Like, we're not colluding, we're not cheating, but we don't want people to think that we are.
Yeah.
Or to, and so we'll just go in, do your thing. Nobody's going to be the wiser.
I don't think it's, you know what? Like, I think that it's probably the right thing to do is to tell them. Or how about this? How about this as a what I would say is that I would tell the proprietor, that you guys are going to swap in the game, and then let him deal with it. Or, I mean, you're still I would still feel bad if he didn't disclose it, but at least that would start a conversation, as opposed to you just showing up where there's other guys at the table, and then you guys just say, "Oh, we have pieces of each other," and then maybe everybody gets up and leaves. If you start a conversation with the proprietor, he might not welcome you to the game, which is fine, but at least you're not going there. That's what I as a first step, I would start a conversation with the proprietor, say, "Listen, we don't play PLO that much. We're more than willing to come and play. We don't share action in other games, but we're going to tonight in PLO. I want to let you know," and then have him see what the guy says. You know what I mean? I think that's how I would handle it.
That's smart.
Yeah. Somebody in the live chat said, and I do tend to remember this, that Cardinal Clone said that on Live at the Bike, Phil Hellmuth disclosed pieces before the game started. I remember that.
Yeah, with Mike the Mouth.
Yeah, with Mike the Mouth. And again, there were situations where I don't know, maybe I was thinking about it, maybe it was on High Stakes Poker. There was a situation on High Stakes Poker, I remember, this is way back, when Hellmuth bluffed Mattisau off of Pocket Kings. This might have been in the first or the second season with 7 deuce, and I think that there was a third player in the hand. And you can start to see, if Hellmuth has a big chunk of Mattisau, how that starts to team up on the third player that isn't a part of their equity swap on the river, even if the third player didn't necessarily have a strong hand. Hellmuth is making such a strong action. I think the third player might have been in the middle too. Hellmuth is making such a strong action from up front. The third player is in the middle. Mattisau's behind in last position and had the pre-flop raising lead with King. You can see how that's unfair to the middle player, right?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's not necessarily even, like I said, it's not even necessarily that they're doing it intentionally. I think the example of best handing someone is actually a really good example where you can just play the best hand. If I equity swap with you and I'm playing at a table we don't need to make outlier raises against each other. We can just play the best hand. It's almost like best ball in golf, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
So yeah, that's a great example.
But again, people don't necessarily think about it like that. But at the same time, we know that it goes on constantly and it's not disclosed. And we know that it goes on in tournaments constantly and it's not disclosed. So I don't really know what to say. And is it different if you and your buddy were going to equity swap in a public game at a casino? I've never seen anyone disclose besides that time that guy mentions with Helmuth on the live stream. I'm not saying that that's right. I'm just saying that I've never seen anybody do it. So it's definitely interesting. But thanks for the call. I appreciate you bringing up the topic. If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.